Everyone's trying to maximize the performance of their team with AI, and that's great. Before you bring in the tech, every business owner and every leader should really be asking their team 4 key questions. And these 4 questions are what has helped me to build the kind of team that take ownership, that deliver results, and actually makes my life so much easier. But before I give you the 4 questions, let's talk a bit more broadly about managing people. In particular, I would suggest that you can't manage people. I mean, by definition, they're human beings. We all know they do what they want to do. So we have to recognize that when it comes to leading a business, well, we can't manage them. And the way I look at it, rather than thinking in that way, is that what my purpose is as a leader in my business is I've got to achieve results through harnessing the efforts of others. Third little point I make before we get into the beef, and this is an absolute truth, is this, I promise you. We all of us get more of what we tolerate, and nowhere in life does that apply more than when it comes to employing staff. If you let them turn up late, pull sickies, swing the lead, take longer for lunch, if you don't care about the quality of their work or the results that they achieve, then you'll get less of everything. Recognizing that and putting in place the right environment so that actually what you have to tolerate is exactly what you wanted. Oh my goodness me, life is beautiful. Whatever job you do, there's always a task and there's always a purpose. It's just that often the individual doing the work, and indeed their boss or their leader or their manager, has never done the thinking to understand what the purpose is. The best way I could describe this would be to think about 2 bricklayers working side by side. One of them is doing his task. He is laying bricks. The other is focused on his purpose. He's building a cathedral. Same job, same work, task and purpose. And we express purpose in a single sentence. If you can't express it in a single sentence, it loses so much of its power. The impact of purpose is massively diluted when it becomes difficult to remember or hard to trip off the tongue. We've got quite a nice building now. We have hundreds of people coming here every single week. Matt the butler's job, or his purpose rather, is to make people feel special, make our visitors feel special. That's what his purpose says. You could and should have a purpose in place for every single role in your business, because when you do, it will tee you up wonderfully well for the 4 key questions that will make such a massive difference to the contribution that your team makes, how your team feel about their role in the business, to how they feel about their own development, their own performance, their extent of buy-in, how much they give a shit, in fact, as well. And when this is implemented properly, and it has been in many hundreds of businesses that we've worked with, it makes a massive impact. Now, as I said, there are 4 questions. First one, what does 100% look like in your role? And it says, in as much detail as possible, can you outline for me, please, what changes or results you're going to deliver over the next 12 months and how you're going to deliver them. In other words, what does 100% look like in your job? Now, at this point, I need to pause for a second and just give you some context around this as to how you actually would make this work. Because the really effective way to implement this is to have a conversation with members of your team, ideally on a Wednesday or a Thursday. All right, you'll see why in a moment. And you say, I wonder if I could ask you a small favour. When you ask that, the most they say, yeah, of course. So I wonder if I give you 4 questions about your role for you to think about over the weekend, could you jot down some answers for me, ready for a chat on, say, Monday or Tuesday next week? Would that be okay? And then you give them these 4 questions, exactly as I'm going to talk you through them now, and they go away to prepare their answers. Now, what you have to do over the same period is you have to prepare your answers as well. Because it's very, very important. You can't go into the meeting next Tuesday having not done the thought as to what you want the outcome to be. So that's how you would tee this up. Make the deliverables as measurable and as quantifiable as possible, so it'll be really clear to both of us exactly what you're going to deliver and what it looks like when you're performing at 100%. Think it through carefully. Make sure that the goals that you set are challenging, but realistic as well. That's important. But they should be totally unambiguous. So when we look back at them at the end of 12 months, there's no confusion about whether you've achieved them or not. That's really what the subtext of the question actually says. So it's really clear. You get people to think about what their job really is. And you can see now why all that context at the beginning is so important to put this in the right place. The second question then says, what do you need from me, i.e. your boss, to make that happen? So based on the goals that you listed in step 1, what are all the resources, the support, the help, the training, the equipment that you might need from me that you haven't already got in order for you to successfully achieve all of the things that you've put in question 1? Because I want to set you up for success here. So just let me know what I can do to make sure that you've got everything you need. So what we're doing here is essentially getting them to get clear on what success looks like, and also being very clear on what they need from you to make it happen. Very, very important that, because part of our job as leaders is to remove excuses. And what you don't want to do is, this is what my goal is, what success is like, but I never had this or I never had that. We get them to think about it, having to use their brain to join the dots and get clear on what it is that they need. So that's the second of the 4 questions. The third one, this is the fun question then. Fun question, step 3 is all about rewards. And the question says, well, if you successfully deliver everything that you've promised in step 1, what should your reward be? And this is great, and it's really interesting what people say here. You'll be staggered at what people say. I've had literally the whole gamut. I have had some upstarts suggesting that they will be worthy, of a Rolls Royce. They did only say for a week, which was interesting, but usually the responses to rewards is much more modest. People want an extra day's holiday or 2 days holiday. One lady asked for a particular handbag that she'd never be able to buy herself. The family budgets wouldn't allow that to happen, but if she was to get it as a gift, it would be an amazing thing. Some people will set bonus levels that they think they're deserving of if they achieve the numbers, etc. But it gives you clarity. And again, they're only answering the questions ready for the meeting, the discussion with you, and when you're going to try and get a combined, agreed set of answers to all 4 questions. But it doesn't stop there. And the 4th question is the one that I think has a really massive impact on the effectiveness of this tool and these 4 questions at making this thing work so well in literally every single business that has ever deployed it. Because step 4 is called ramifications. And the question says, if I delivered to you all of the resources and support that we've agreed upon in step 2, in other words, everything that that's for, but you still don't deliver on the promises and goals that you set out in step 1, what should the ramifications be for you? And this really gets people thinking. And it's so contrary to the way so many HR interventions actually work, because most of them don't ever lead the member of staff to thinking that there could be any ramifications for them at all. And I've had people write down, I should be fired, for instance, which is at least a useful starting point. At least they recognise the stakes that are here. There are people suggesting that they should be paid less, that they should be made to come in at weekends. I've had all sorts of different responses have come across my desk over the years with that one, but it is very, very impactful, and the set together do make a really significant difference. So those are our 4 questions. They're all based around what 100% looks like. These 4 questions that I've got for you, well, they ain't going to work effectively without these 3 requisites. The first one is it's imperative that your team is stacked full of people who A, want to be there, and B, they fit culturally with what you want your business to be about. We've all been to places, to restaurants or shops, other businesses perhaps, where it's so patently obvious that a particular member of staff, or probably there's a few, really wish they were anywhere else but there. They absolutely are not the epitome of what the business owner had in mind when he or she was creating the vision for their business. Yet there they are, in reality, dealing with their customers. Having people who want to be there and who are a good fit with your culture is absolutely critical. The second requisite, you won't like this one, you have to be prepared to eject the members of your team who are not pulling their weight. If people are not performing, if people are culturally having a poor impact, they have to go. They have no place in your business. If you tolerate them, see the link here, if you tolerate them and let them stay, sure as eggs is eggs, as my grandma used to say, the performance will suffer, the culture will drift, and everything that you're working towards will start to dissipate. And the third thing, which actually comes automatically when you've got number one and number two, but the third thing is to be sure that everyone knows that you will jettison weight when required. So people know that if they don't perform, they won't be able to stay around here. For high performers to have confidence in you, they've got to know that you won't tolerate poor performers. High performers want to be around other high performers. If you allow people in your team who should not be there, and we've all had them at the time, let's be honest, and if you've got them now, I feel sorry for you, but we've got to deal with it. So those are my three requisites. They're available in a template, in a download we can make available to you if you follow the instructions in the comments below. Here it is, look, I've got a copy here. It's 2 simple pages. I'd even give you a free staple if I could send it to you virtually. No, you have to provide your own staple, I cannot do that. But when you utilize this with your staff, it will have a big impact, providing that those requisites and precursors are already in place. This isn't a silver bullet. This can't make up for inadequate hiring. It can't compensate for failure to define and understand what culture you want to have around here. It will not put right your failure to not tolerate behaviours that are causing you and members of your team massive problems with one member of staff. But when you put this in place, what you tend to see is significant upsteps in performance. Makes a really huge difference. That's why we've taken the time to put this video together for you. I mentioned AI at the beginning. Of course, AI can amplify a great team, but it won't fix a broken one. These 4 questions are how you build the right foundations in your business. And if you do want to learn how to use AI to take things even further, well, check out the video we posted right after this one, because when you've got a switched on team and smart tech working together, boom, that's when the magic can really happen. Thanks for watching.